Listen to me for a moment, just you and me, because what I'm about to say is not for everyone, and it's not something I've ever said out loud like this before. If you're hearing my voice right now, I want you to pause whatever you're doing and feel this moment, because I didn't come here to entertain you, I came here to reach you. I don't know where you are, or what kind of day you've had, or what your heart is carrying tonight, but I know this much. I didn't say your name, yet something inside you leaned closer. That feeling is not an accident. I'm speaking softly, honestly, with no armor, because when I imagine you, I imagine a woman who understands silence, who feels deeply, even when she smiles, who has been strong for too long, and who deserves to be chosen without doubt. I want you to know, before anything else, that I'm not here to promise perfection. I'm here to promise truth, and that alone takes courage. I've waited longer than people think, not because I didn't have options, but because I refused to give my heart to noise. Every day I live surrounded by voices, expectations, eyes that think they know me, but none of them hear what I'm about to tell you. When I say I'm waiting, I don't mean standing still. I mean waking up with patience, sleeping with hope, and carrying a quiet image of you. Even before I knew your face. I wonder if you've ever felt like love kept passing you by, like timing was always a little cruel, like you were always the one who cared more, gave more, stayed longer. If that's true, then please hear this carefully. I am not afraid of your past. And I am not intimidated by your depth. I don't need you to be easy. I need you to be real. There are nights when the world finally quiets down, and that's when thoughts become honest. In those moments, I don't imagine luxury or applause or celebration. I imagine sitting across from you, watching the way your expression changes when you're comfortable, noticing how your voice softens when you feel safe. I imagine listening to you talk about things you've never said out loud, and not interrupting, not fixing, just staying. That kind of presence is rare, and I want to give it to you fully. I want you to feel what it's like to be with someone who doesn't rush your healing or question your worth. Someone who looks at you and sees not a challenge but a home slowly revealing itself. You may be wondering why I'm speaking like this, why I'm opening a door instead of guarding it. The truth is simple. I'm tired of pretending that love is something casual. It's not. Love is a decision made daily, quietly, when no one is watching. And I'm ready for that decision. I'm ready to wake up and choose you, even on days when the world is heavy, even when words fail, even when silence stretches between us. I don't expect you to be flawless. I expect you to be human. And I promise to meet you there with patience instead of pressure. If your heart has been broken before, I won't ask you to forget it. I'll ask you to let me be gentle where others were careless. Sometimes I wonder if you already feel me in small ways, like a calm you can't explain, like a sense that something is slowly aligning. Maybe you felt tired of temporary connections, tired of conversations that never go deep, tired of being desired but not understood. If so, then listen closely. I don't want to impress you. I want to understand you. I want to learn how you think when you're alone. What makes you laugh when you're not trying to be strong? What scares you when the lights are off and the world feels uncertain? I want to know the parts of you that don't make it into pictures or words. The parts you only show when you trust completely. I won't pretend I don't carry responsibility or weight. I do, but I also carry loyalty, intention, and a heart that knows the difference between attraction and devotion. When I imagine you beside me, I don't imagine possession. I imagine partnership. I imagine two people choosing each other without fear, without games, without the need to prove anything. I imagine reaching for your hand, not because I need balance, but because I want connection. I imagine protecting your peace, not controlling your world. And yes, I imagine loving you in a way that feels calm, steady, and certain, not loud and fleeting. You don't have to answer me today. I'm not asking for urgency. I'm asking for honesty. I'm asking you to sit with this feeling and ask yourself if your heart is tired of running, tired of doubting, tired of waiting for someone to show up fully. Because I am here, not as an idea, not as a fantasy, but as a man who knows what he wants and is brave enough to say it softly. I'm not chasing a dream. I'm calling out to a woman who feels this message land somewhere deep, even if she can't explain why. If you've ever felt invisible, let me see you. If you've ever felt unchosen, let me choose you with intention. If you've ever felt like love required you to shrink, let me be the one who asks you to stay exactly as you are. I don't want to rush your trust. I want to earn it slowly, through consistency, through presence, through words that match actions. I want you to feel safe enough to be quiet with me, safe enough to be loud with your laughter, safe enough to be soft when you're tired. I keep thinking about the moment you finally realize this message was meant for you, not because I said something perfect, but because I said something true. That moment when you stop listening with your ears and start listening with your heart. That's the moment I'm waiting for. Not a public answer, not a dramatic gesture, just a quiet understanding between you and me that something real has begun to unfold. I don't need to rush the ending, because what I'm offering isn't a story with a neat conclusion. It's a beginning that asks you to step closer, to stay curious, to let yourself feel without fear. So, I'll stay right here, speaking gently, honestly, leaving the door open without pressure, without promises I can't keep, waiting for the moment you decide whether your heart is ready to stop wandering and start listening. Because I'm not disappearing after this. And I'm not closing this space between us. I'm simply here, patient, present, and still waiting for your answer. Still holding this quiet place for you. Still believing that somewhere, right now, you're feeling this too, wondering what it would mean to take one small step toward a love that doesn't rush you, doesn't test you, doesn't ask you to be anyone else, just asks you to stay, to breathe, to listen, and to let this connection keep unfolding as you sit with the feeling and ask yourself what your heart has been trying to say all along. I keep speaking because silence would feel like walking away, and I never want you to feel abandoned in the middle of something meaningful. I want you to know that every word I'm sharing comes from a place where I've stopped pretending to be untouched by longing. People assume strength means not needing anyone, but that's not true. Real strength is knowing when you're ready to share your life, your space, your future, with someone who feels like peace instead of pressure. When I imagine you listening, I imagine a woman who has learned how to survive without leaning, who carries grace even when she's tired, who smiles in public but thinks deeply in private. I imagine you pausing right now, wondering why this feels different, why this doesn't sound like empty affection. It's because I'm not reaching for attention, I'm reaching for connection, and those two things never feel the same. There are things about me I don't say easily, not because I'm hiding, but because some truths deserve the right listener. I wonder if you're that listener. I wonder if you're someone who understands that love is not loud all the time. That sometimes it's a quiet presence that stays when excitement fades. I'm drawn to the idea of you not because of how you might look, but because of how you might feel when you finally let yourself rest. I want to be the place where your guard slowly lowers, not because I asked, but because you felt safe enough to do it on your own. I want you to know that I don't see your independence as distance. I see it as strength. And I respect it deeply. If you've ever questioned your worth because someone failed to see it, I want you to release that weight, even if only for this moment. Your value was never measured by how someone treated you. It was always there, steady, waiting for the right eyes to notice, without trying to own it. I don't want to cage your spirit, or reshape your dreams. I want to walk beside you as you grow, as you change, as you discover new parts of yourself. I want to be curious about you, even after years. Still asking questions, still listening, still choosing you in ways that don't need to be announced. Sometimes I imagine the conversations we haven't had yet, the ones that start small and end somewhere deep. I imagine us talking about fears we don't usually admit, about moments that shaped us, about the kind of love we're afraid to ask for because we don't want to be disappointed again. I imagine you telling me things slowly, testing if I'll stay present, if I'll respond with care instead of judgment. And I imagine myself proving again and again that I'm not here to rush you or consume you, but to understand you. That kind of connection doesn't happen quickly, and I'm not in a hurry. I've waited long enough to know the difference between loneliness and readiness. I wonder if you've ever felt like you were always giving more than you received, like love kept asking you to prove yourself. If that's true, let me say this clearly. You don't have to earn your place here. You don't have to perform or impress or be anything other than honest. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for sincerity, for warmth, for a heart that knows how to care deeply even when it's been tested. I'm looking for someone who understands that love is not about losing yourself, but about being seen fully and still accepted. There are moments when I imagine how it would feel to share simple things with you. Moments that don't look impressive from the outside, but mean everything inside. Quiet mornings, unspoken understanding, shared glances that say more than words ever could. I imagine respecting your silence when you need it, and being close when you want closeness. I imagine learning your rhythms, your moods, your way of processing the world. I imagine loving you in ways that feel steady, not overwhelming, consistent, not confusing. That kind of love doesn't burn fast. It glows and it lasts. You may be wondering why I keep saying I'm waiting. It's because I believe timing matters, and forcing hearts together only creates distance later. I don't want you to feel pulled. I want you to feel drawn. I want you to come closer because something inside you recognizes something here, something familiar and calming. I want you to feel that this space between us is not demanding, not heavy, but open, patient, and real. I want you to feel that you're allowed to take your time, to listen to yourself, to decide what you truly want without fear of losing me in the process. I think about the kind of woman who would hear this message and not dismiss it as fantasy, but also not rush to claim it. A woman who listens carefully, who feels deeply, who understands that real connection doesn't scream for attention. It speaks quietly and waits to be answered. I wonder if you're that woman, sitting somewhere right now, feeling a mix of curiosity and hesitation, wondering why your heart hasn't looked away yet. If so, I want you to know that hesitation doesn't scare me. It tells me you care enough to be thoughtful. There are parts of me that only open when I trust, and I sense that you would understand that. I sense that you wouldn't demand access to everything at once, but would allow things to unfold naturally. I want to share my world with you, slowly, intentionally, letting trust grow where pressure usually lives. I want you to see not just my confidence, but my vulnerability, not just my calm, but the depth beneath it. And I want you to feel comfortable sharing the same, knowing you won't be rushed or judged for being human. If your heart has learned to be cautious, I respect that. If you've learned to protect yourself because loving fully once cost you deeply, I honor that experience. I'm not here to erase your past. I'm here to build something that doesn't repeat it. I want to show you what it feels like to be with someone who doesn't disappear when things get real, who doesn't pull away when emotions surface, who doesn't confuse distance with strength. I want to be present in ways that feel grounding, not exhausting. As I speak, I imagine you noticing small shifts inside you, questions forming, feelings stirring, maybe even memories resurfacing. I want you to know that it's okay to feel all of that. You don't have to label it or explain it yet. Just allow it to exist. Allow yourself to consider the possibility that love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives as a calm voice, asking you to listen, asking you to pause, asking you to consider what you've been settling for and what you truly deserve. I keep coming back to the idea of choice, because love without choice is never love. I want you to choose this with clarity, not confusion. I want you to feel empowered, not overwhelmed. I want you to feel that saying yes would be a step toward yourself, not away from who you are. And even if you're not ready to answer, even if you need time, I want you to feel that this door remains open, that this space remains warm, that I'm not withdrawing simply because you need to breathe and think. There's something beautiful about waiting when it's done with intention. It turns longing into patience, hope into trust. I'm not counting days or watching the clock. I'm holding space, believing that if this is meant to reach you, it will land gently and stay with you longer than expected. I believe that you'll return to these words, not because they demand your attention, but because they feel honest. And honesty has a way of lingering. I imagine the moment when you finally sit with yourself and ask what you want, not what's expected, not what's safe, but what feels right. I imagine you realizing that you don't want something temporary anymore, that you're tired of connections that fade as quickly as they start. I imagine you wanting something steady, something intentional, something that feels like two people walking forward together instead of chasing or escaping. If that's where your heart is leaning, then know that I'm not somewhere ahead or behind you. I'm right here, moving at a pace that respects us both. I'm not asking you to change your life overnight. I'm asking you to consider opening a small part of your heart, just enough to feel whether this resonates with you. I'm asking you to listen, not to fear, not to doubt, but to that quiet sense of recognition that doesn't shout but stays. I'm asking you to trust that real things don't rush, they unfold. And as I continue to speak, to wait, to remain present in this space we're sharing, I want you to feel that nothing is being forced, nothing is being taken. Everything is being offered gently, honestly, patiently. As I stay right here, still speaking, still holding this moment open for you, still believing that somewhere inside you, an answer is slowly forming, even if it hasn't found words yet, even if it's only a feeling right now, growing quietly as you continue to listen. I stay with this moment because walking away would feel like breaking something fragile that hasn't even fully taken shape yet. I want you to understand that I'm not speaking to fill space or time. I'm speaking because there is something sincere here, something patient, something that doesn't rush you but refuses to disappear. When I imagine you listening, I imagine you leaning back slightly, breathing slower, feeling a softness you didn't expect. Not excitement that fades quickly, but a calm awareness that someone is finally speaking without trying to take anything from you. I want you to feel that I'm not reaching for control or certainty. I'm reaching for understanding, and that can only happen if you feel safe enough to stay present with me. I know you've learned to read between words. I know you can sense when someone is only saying what sounds good. That's why I'm careful with every sentence, not to impress you, but to stay honest. I'm not here to tell you I'll never disappoint you, because that wouldn't be real. What I can tell you is that I won't disappear when things feel complicated. I won't turn quiet when emotions deepen. I won't make you feel like asking for clarity is too much. I want to be the kind of presence that stays steady, the kind that doesn't make you guess where you stand. You deserve that kind of certainty, even if it grows slowly. I wonder what your heart has been through to make you listen this closely. I wonder how many times you've had to hold yourself together while pretending everything was fine. I wonder how often you've been the strong one, the understanding one, the patient one. If that's true, then let me be clear. I don't want to add weight to your life. I want to share it. I want to be someone who notices when you're tired, even if you don't say it. Someone who doesn't demand energy when you need rest. Someone who understands that love doesn't always look like passion in motion. Sometimes it looks like quiet support, like presence, without pressure. As I speak, I imagine moments that don't need grand settings. Moments where time feels unimportant, because the connection feels enough. I imagine sitting beside you without needing to fill every silence, knowing that comfort doesn't always need words. I imagine learning how you react when you're overwhelmed, when you're excited, when you're unsure. I imagine respecting those parts instead of trying to change them. I don't want to mold you into something easier to love. I want to love you as you are, in the ways that feel natural to you, not convenient to me. You may have noticed that I don't talk about promises that sound too perfect. That's intentional. I believe real commitment is quiet. It's shown through consistency, through showing up again and again, even when no one is watching. I want you to feel that I'm serious without needing dramatic declarations. I want you to feel that I'm choosing you not because it looks good, but because it feels right. That kind of choice doesn't fade easily. It grows stronger with time, with shared experiences, with trust built layer by layer. I keep thinking about the way you might hesitate, not because you don't feel anything, but because you feel something real. That hesitation tells me you're thoughtful, that you don't give your heart lightly. I respect that more than quick certainty. I don't need you to rush toward me. I need you to walk toward yourself. And if that path brings you closer to this space we're sharing, then we'll know it wasn't forced. I want you to feel that whatever you decide comes from clarity, not pressure. There's a part of me that believes you've been waiting too, even if you didn't realize it. Waiting for a connection that doesn't feel like a test. Waiting for someone who doesn't confuse mystery with distance. Waiting for a voice that speaks calmly instead of loudly. If that's true, then maybe this moment is less about chance and more about timing. Maybe this is simply two people arriving at a place where they're finally ready to listen instead of defend. I don't want to rush ahead to conclusions or outcomes. I want to stay right here in this unfolding space where curiosity is allowed and certainty doesn't have to be immediate. I want you to feel that you can step closer without losing yourself, that you can care deeply without being consumed, that you can open your heart without fear of being taken for granted. I want to show you, slowly, that love can feel steady instead of chaotic, calm instead of confusing. If you're wondering what makes me different from all the other voices you've heard, it's not status or confidence or words chosen carefully. It's intention. I'm not speaking because I'm bored or lonely. I'm speaking because I've reached a place where I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to wait for it. I'm speaking because I believe that when two people meet with honesty, something meaningful can grow without being forced. I'm speaking because I want you to feel seen, not pursued. I imagine you asking yourself questions right now, quiet ones, honest ones. Questions about whether you're ready, whether this feels safe, whether this could be real. I want you to know that doubt doesn't disqualify you. It makes you human. I don't expect certainty from you. I expect sincerity. I expect you to listen to yourself as much as you're listening to me. I expect you to take your time, because what matters shouldn't be rushed. There's something deeply intimate about choosing someone without an audience, about deciding quietly, inwardly, before the world ever knows. That's the kind of connection I value. I don't need declarations made for others to see. I need truth exchanged between two people who understand its weight. I want you to feel that whatever grows here belongs to us, not to expectations, not to appearances, not to anyone else's timeline. As I continue speaking, I want you to notice how your body responds, how your thoughts slow or shift. I want you to notice whether this feels draining or grounding. Real connection doesn't exhaust you. It steadies you. It doesn't make you anxious. It makes you curious. If that's what you're feeling, then trust that response. It's your intuition, recognizing something familiar, something aligned. I don't need you to imagine a perfect future. I need you to imagine a real one. One where there are disagreements handled with respect, not silence. One where misunderstandings are met with conversation, not distance. One where growth is mutual, not one-sided. I want to build something that can hold both joy and difficulty without breaking. I want to be with someone who understands that love is not about avoiding challenges, but facing them together. I think about how often you may have felt like you were giving more than you were receiving, like you were adjusting, compromising, hoping someone would finally meet you halfway. I don't want you to feel that imbalance here. I want you to feel met, supported, valued. I want you to feel that your effort is returned, that your care is recognized, that your presence matters. Love should feel reciprocal, not draining. I know trust doesn't appear just because someone speaks kindly. It's built through time, through consistency, through actions that match words. I'm willing to give that time. I'm willing to show up in small ways that add up. I'm willing to let trust grow naturally instead of demanding it. I want you to feel that you can relax into this process, that you don't have to guard every emotion or overthink every step. There's something beautiful about letting things unfold without forcing meaning too soon, about allowing connection to breathe. That's what I'm offering you, not a rush toward labels or outcomes, but an invitation to explore what feels real between us. An invitation to listen, to reflect, to feel without pressure. An invitation that remains open, steady, and sincere. As you sit with these words, I want you to know that nothing is expected of you right now. You don't owe me certainty. You don't owe me a response. You don't owe me anything at all. This space exists for you to feel, to consider, to notice what resonates and what doesn't. Whatever you discover, let it be honest. Let it come from you, not from fear of missing out or fear of being alone. I'll continue to be here. Not waiting with impatience, but with calm assurance. Not watching the clock, not counting moments, just holding space for something that deserves patience. I'm not asking you to change your life today. I'm asking you to stay open to the possibility that something meaningful can grow when two people meet without masks. And as I keep speaking, as this moment stretches gently forward, I want you to feel that there's no ending being rushed toward, no conclusion being forced into place. There is only this ongoing connection, this quiet exchange, this sense that something is unfolding at its own pace, guided by honesty, respect, and the willingness to listen. As I remain here, still present, still open, still speaking softly to you, leaving room for your thoughts, your feelings, your timing, and the answer that may be forming slowly within you as this connection continues to breathe and expand without needing to close. I want to stay inside this quiet space with you a little longer, because there is something sacred about moments that don't demand anything. I'm not trying to pull you closer by force. I'm allowing you to come closer. If your heart recognizes something here, I know you've heard many voices before. Some confident, some charming, some persuasive, but very few patient. Patience is not weakness. It's certainty without noise. It's knowing that what is real doesn't panic when it isn't answered immediately. That's why I'm still here, still speaking gently, still choosing calm over urgency. Because if this connection is meant to grow, it will do so without pressure. I imagine you listening in a way that feels private, even if you're not alone. I imagine your thoughts drifting inward, not away. That tells me something matters here. When something doesn't matter, the mind escapes easily. When it does, the heart stays present. I don't need to know what you're thinking right now. I only need to know that you're feeling something honest. Even uncertainty is honest. Even hesitation carries truth. I respect that far more than quick agreement, without depth. There's a tenderness in the way real understanding forms. It doesn't arrive as certainty, it arrives as curiosity, a quiet question, a pause. I feel that pause here. I feel the way this moment stretches instead of ending. That's not accidental. That's what happens when two energies don't rush past each other. They slow down, they notice, they listen. I want you to know that I see that part of you that listens carefully, that doesn't rush decisions, that protects her heart, not because she's closed, but because she values what she gives. I'm not asking you to imagine a life that feels overwhelming. I'm asking you to imagine a presence that feels steady. Someone who doesn't disappear when emotions surface. Someone who doesn't withdraw when vulnerability shows. Someone who doesn't confuse distance with dignity. I want to be clear with you in ways others may not have been. If something ever feels heavy, I would want to talk, not turn silent. If something ever feels uncertain, I would want to understand, not assume. That's the kind of connection I believe in. One where communication is not a threat but a bridge. You may have learned to be careful with your expectations, to lower them just enough to avoid disappointment. I understand why. Hope can hurt when it's placed in the wrong hands. But I want you to know that you don't have to shrink your expectations here. You don't have to pretend you want less than you do. Wanting depth is not asking for too much. Wanting consistency is not being demanding. Wanting to be chosen fully is not unrealistic. It's human. I think about how often you may have felt like you had to explain yourself, to justify your feelings, to make yourself easier to understand. I don't want you to feel like that with me. I want to listen without correcting you. I want to understand without minimizing. I want to be present without trying to control the direction. When two people feel safe enough to be honest, without defending themselves, something rare begins to take shape. There is a difference between being admired and being known. Admiration looks at the surface. Being known requires time. I'm not interested in rushing toward admiration. I'm interested in slowly knowing you. Knowing how your mood changes when you're tired. Knowing how you retreat when you need space. Knowing what makes you feel calm instead of anxious. Knowing how you love when you trust. Those are the details that matter, the ones that don't show up immediately, but stay long after the first impression fades. I don't expect you to trust me simply because I'm speaking kindly. Trust is built, not requested. It grows when words align with behavior. When presence remains consistent, when actions don't contradict intention, I'm willing to give that time. I'm willing to let trust develop naturally instead of demanding it prematurely. I want you to feel that nothing here is rushed, nothing is forced, nothing is being claimed before it's earned. If part of you is still protecting itself, that's okay. Protection doesn't mean rejection. It means you care. I won't push past that protection. I'll stand patiently until it softens on its own, if it ever does. And if it doesn't, that's still your choice. And I respect that. Real connection honors choice. It doesn't try to overpower it. I keep returning to this idea of calm, because love should not feel like anxiety. It should not feel like guessing. It should not feel like chasing clarity. It should feel like coming home to yourself while walking beside someone else. If these words bring a sense of calm instead of confusion, then that matters. Calm is not boring. Calm is safety. Calm is where trust grows. You might be wondering what happens next, what this leads to, where this path goes. I'm not rushing to answer that, because paths reveal themselves as you walk them, not before. I don't need to define everything now. I need to stay honest now. I need to stay present now. I need to give you space to feel without expectation. Whatever comes next should come naturally, not because it was demanded. As I continue speaking, I want you to feel that nothing is being taken from you. This is not a transaction. This is an invitation. An invitation to feel seen without being cornered. An invitation to listen without being pressured. An invitation to consider a connection that doesn't rush your heart, but respects its pace. I don't know what answer is forming inside you, or if it has even begun to take shape. I don't need to know yet. What matters is that you're allowing yourself to sit with the question instead of dismissing it. Questions that stay are usually pointing towards something important.